Well, it's another wonderful day with the Crotchety Old Men podcast. Hi, this is Gary Smith, one of your hosts today. And in the house, I always like to say in the house, in the studio today is the entire team, the old Crotchety Old Men. And the first one is on my left, PC. What up, though, PC?
What up, doe baby? How you doing, Gary?
Man, I'm doing so great. I'm about to take off and fly.
Hello.
Boy, man, it's a wonderful day, isn't it?
It is. It is. Sun is out. It's shining bright. Want me to? I feel like touching my boy on the shoulder and let's go take our bags, put them in the car, just play a little golf.
Well, let's get your boy on in here. What up, though, George? He in the studio.
What up, though, fellas? How we doing this morning?
Yeah, we doing great.
Good, good. It's always good to hear that. It's always good to be with the Crotchety Old Men podcast, where we bring you as much information as you can, if you can handle, as much information as we can give on financial literacy and making sure that you continue to prosper in this world, which God made it for all of us to do. And today's no different on the Crotchety Men podcast. We're going to continue to talk about how you can build wealth, but also we're going to talk about today particularly how you leave a legacy for your children and for your family, and what's an orderly way to do that. And by doing so, we've got a special guest in the house today. We've got a Mr. Melvin Buchanan with us this morning. Melvin's a graduate of Mississippi State. Been in insurance building. He's been in the insurance industry for over 30 years. But right now and today, he's going to talk to us about a company by the name Assure for Life. Good morning, Melvin. How are we doing this morning?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing well. Glad to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Melvin, tell us a little bit about yourself, but more importantly, tell us a little bit about Assure for Life and how it can help our listeners.
Well, just about me, I think, I've been around a while. I'm number 7 out of 9. I've worked in the financial services industry and saw it being a way of helping people around me prosper and, gain wealth. I got out of the industry for some time and worked, I guess, in the profession of training from schooling, geology. And a few years back, got back into the industry after, having been with A.L. Williams, which you all now know as Primerica, but I'd been out of the industry for about 25 years. But 2 years ago, or a little over 18 months ago, I came in contact with this company, Assure for Life. And upon researching it and seeing what products they offered and what they did, I saw it being a need. And I guess I got that passion to get back out there and go again.
Good, good. Okay. So tell us, how can Assure for Life help our audience?
Well, Assure for Life, I guess, just to put it in a way that most people could understand it, Assure for Life is actually a product. It is the American product of a company called Grupo Plenitude. Our company name actually is Grupo Plenitude, and this company started in 1950 in Colombia, South America, and we're in the funeral expense business. We have a product that pays for funeral expense. Now, in so doing, that company started in 1950, so it's 73 years old. And in 1994, it expanded and went into the country of Venezuela, and then in 2001, Costa Rica, and then 2006 into Mexico, and in 2007, they came into the United States. But they came into the United States under a registered name of Protection Plenitude. But they wanted to brand an American product, with a name that Americans could understand a whole lot better. That's where Assure for Life came in. That is the American branded name, but the company is actually registered in America as Protection Plenitude. And, if you were to pay for a product or whatever, that's who you would pay. And what Assure for Life is, it is a funeral expense plan. It is actually not insurance. I tell people it works somewhat on a membership basis, similar to, let's just say, AAA. You pay X amount of dollars per month, and they provide X amount of services. No funds are paid directly to you as there would be with an insurance company. These funds are actually paid to the service provider. And the amount that's actually paid in each area is whatever the average funeral cost is in your city, your state, your region, or whatever. Should someone pass, you just call up Sure for Life and they take it from there. They handle everything. Basically, you could say it is a concierge service for funeral expenses, is actually what it boils down to. Um, there's a couple of different plans. We have what is called the family plan. There can be 7 people on that plan. We have uh, the uh, silver plan, and there can only be up to 2 people on the silver plan. The family plan runs 900 per year or 75 per month, and the silver plan runs 60 per person or 75 for 2 people, and that's good anywhere in the United States.
So let me ask a
All right.
question, so that I know that I'm clear here, Melvin. So this service, you said it's a product. It sounds more like it's a service than it is a product, because it's not a product that you can physically use or open and what have you. But as a service, um, I'm hearing you say that it's acceptable through all the funeral homes and directors and what have you throughout the continental United States, correct?
That is correct.
And so now, does it necessitate, let's say, for instance, if you take the plot versus the cremation, because now I'm thinking in terms of land. That real estate's coming out of me every time we on here. Something about real estate tie me in here. So as I'm thinking about the land now, do the member go out and talk to a funeral director first about this service to secure that plot for mom and dad, or how does that work?
No, it wouldn't work that way. We actually pay a basic funeral cost. I mean, and in so doing, in paying the basic funeral cost, that is not including burial costs, because the burial would be the plot and all of that. That is a totally different issue. As a matter of fact, in most states, the burial plot and the opening and closing of the grave and so forth, that's considered to be somewhat of a real estate transaction, and that's
Hmm.
not included. But
Hmm.
the bulk of the expenses in any funeral is actually the funeral expenses versus the opening and closing of the grave as we know it, which normally runs somewhere between about $8 and $1,200. But what we have found is that families were being put in a bind, I guess, when people pass, because we all know, that death doesn't call you ahead of time and tell you to get ready. It catches you off guard, and you got to be financially ready for that. So, what a lot of families were doing is they were doing, uh, what do we call them? GoFundMe's. We know some, I call them, there are 2 types of GoFundMe, either the public GoFundMe, where we try to collect funds from wherever we can to pay for the funeral expenses, or we may have the private GoFundMe's where the family has a certain amount of pride and they don't, want it to get out to the public, so they call around in the family and say, "Hey, uh, Uncle Buck passed, and we're going to need some help." Getting his expenses taken care of, and the family pooled their money and so forth, and this product provided an alternative to doing so.
I got a question for you, Melvin. I'm listening to you talk about how Assure for Life deals with the aspects of funeralization and whatnot, and to help the families. Is there a counseling proponent to help guide these families through the whole entire process? Explain that to us.
Yes, there is. Upon a person passing, what you would do is there's a 24-hour 800 number if you are a member of the Assure for Life. You call that number, And they basically, as I said before, our concierge service, they walk you right through everything. The first thing they're going to maybe ask you your plan number and so forth. And then they probably ask you where is the body and so forth. But we tell people the first call is to the authorities, letting them know somebody has passed. And then the second call would be to Assure for Life, because you want to get them engaged. They actually will walk you through everything. They'll say, well, basically, where is the body? And you tell them where the body is. And then they're going to say, we normally, or we've used in the past here in Atlanta or Roswell or whatever, we've used XYZ companies. They may have used 8 or 10 different, funeral directors or morticians. And you say, well, my family uses Jones and Sons. They'll pick up the phone, call Jones and Son. They said, Mr. Jones, uh, this family has asked us to contact you because a family member has passed, and they want you to handle the arrangements. And they'll ask Mr. Jones, and now, Mr. Jones, can you provide these 7 services or whatever of this plan for XYZ, whatever that average funeral cost is in that particular area? And Mr. Jones says yes. Well, Mr. Jones, we'll need you to pick up that body. It's at such and such location. And then Mr. Jones will do that. And they'll say, Mr. Jones, we're going to send you a contract. Mr. Jones will sign that contract saying that he could do that. The minute he signs that contract, they're going to ask him, how do you want your funds? You want them electronically? You want it a hard check or whatever? And we are right now averaging between 24 and 48 hours getting the mortician or the funeral director his phone, which takes the family out of that. That takes the strain off of them when they're in mourning and so forth, of trying to not only put together arrangements but run down money and do all of those types of things. That's taken right out of the way.
Now, Melvin, you talked about earlier how the plot and so forth is not part of your service. So, what if you run into someone who decides they want to do a burial plot, open and close a casket, whatever? Anyway, how does that work in conjunction with what you're offering?
Well, like I said, we're going to provide the basic funeral costs. And, sometimes even people ask us when we say basic, they think that means something cheap or whatever, where you're going to give me a cardboard box. And no, I venture to say 90 to 95% of the funerals you've attended, the caskets that you saw were actually basic caskets. So you be getting the same thing. Every now and then we attend one where there's a Michael Jackson casket or whatever, but uh, you know, I don't believe, nor do I think most of you guys believe, we should put a whole lot of money in the ground when it comes to that thing, because the insurance as we know it, life insurance or whatever, so many people forget that that is actually a product that should be left for those who are left behind you, to take care of their needs and so forth. Sometimes we think that is for burial and all of that. But what happens is that if we use it all for that, it may not be as much left behind for the people that we've actually left it for. But here, this takes care of specifically the funeral expenses.
You know,
This takes care. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I mean, you mentioned 7 basics. Could you identify what those 7 basic services are? I think we would be able to get a better appreciation and understanding of uh, of the membership. Although you don't have the policy in front of you here, but
Mhm.
could you cover those 7 basics?
I can hit the points of actually what's in each particular plan, because you have 2 or 3 different types of plans according to what the people need. We have something called the national option, we have the return option, and we have the roots option. And the national option is mainly for people here in the United States. You pay $75 per month. There are 7 people in that plan. One person is the plan holder. In that plan, it pays for transportation of the deceased within the country, which means if you passed in Georgia and you wanted to go to California to be funeralized, the company will pay that expense. It pays all of the basic funeral costs. It pays for cremation and the standard casket, the hearse to the cemetery, and so forth. It even pays if you decide to do cremation, but you want a viewing before the cremation, which means the casket is provided and then the cremation is done thereafter. It Another service that it provides is for the actual plan holder. The plan holder, now there's only one plan holder, there may be, 6 other individuals on the plan. That person gets a round trip ticket to attend the services of the other 6 people at their passing. One thing too that I will say is that if the person is from, let's say, Latin America, because we have services in Latin America, South America, the Caribbean, and so forth. If they are in the United States and they decide that they want to be funeralized back in their home country, the plan also pays for shipment of the body down to that country and then takes care of the funeral expenses and so forth there as well. And then you have the roots option, which is for people who are actually in those countries in Latin America and in South America. So those are some of the things that the plan provides. Now, as it relates to qualifying for the plan, there are only 4 things that can disqualify you from being a member of the plan. That is the brain tumor. And I want to say this. These 4 things only disqualify you at the time of enrollment. Brain tumor, active cancer, dialysis, and terminal illness. If you have anything else, and we have a lot of other things, we say sugar, high blood pressure, and all of that, you can go right on into the plan. Also, and I'm trying to make space for you guys, have questions, just hit me up. But also, anybody between the age of 0 and 65 in the plan do not have to be kin. It can be your ace boon coon. It can be your fraternity brother. It can be your co-worker. It can be a good friend from church. If they are between 0 and 65, they can be of no relation to you whatsoever. If they are 66 to 80, they must be either a parent, spouse, or partner of the plan holder. Otherwise, they would have to have their own plan.
So you threw out the term ace boon coon. So I'm assuming that you trying to become a honorary member of the Crotchety Old Men podcast, because that is definitely an old term. I ain't heard that in a long time. But Melvin, this is a pretty unique product, and I'm fascinated because of the fact that I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that run into that situation, like you said, that you get to a point where someone passes away, unfortunately, and it's a shock, and it's like how we're going to pay for it. So basically, you're introducing a prepaid plan, which will allow you to take care of these types of unexpected situations. But let me ask you a question. It's called Assure for Life, and I'm sure that's for a reason, because of the fact that it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you can put people in this plan, and and it goes on. So if someone passes away, you said there were 7 members, can you add additional people to that plan, or how does that work? Come explain that.
Yes, you can. As a matter of fact, I tell people that this plan actually becomes a legacy for your family because as long as you pay the membership, the plan rolls on. If someone passes in the plan, that person can be replaced in the plan on the anniversary of the policy or on the anniversary of the plan. I don't want to say policy because it's not insurance. But on the anniversary of the plan, that person can be replaced. So you could easily have a situation where a plan has been in place, let's just say 15 years, and the original 7 people are now all deceased, but the plan is still going with 7 people on it, still going forward because it's being paid. The only person that can be replaced immediately is the plan holder. And we can understand that somebody has to be there, so to speak, to take control or the administrative duties of the plan. A person may also have more than one plan. Now, the key thing I really like about this plan that makes it so different from insurance. Number one, there is no medical requirements in that you don't have to give any blood. You don't have to give any urine. We don't need your social security number. And what I like about that is so many times in families, maybe grandma wants to put her grandbaby in a policy or whatever, and she got to try to get his birth date, and she tried to get him to sit down and do the urine or let the paramedic take the blood, and you can't hem them up. Here, all you need is to know their name, their date of birth, the city and state they live in, not even their address, and the relationship to the plan holder, and that's pretty much it. That's all you need.
Now you know
Okay.
I'm not as I'm a bit of a numbers guy. Gary, on the other hand, is a savant. But what I was looking at here, Melvin, is that okay? You're paying $900 a year. Okay, I live 20 years. Some other folks are living 10, 15 years. I'm waiting on them to die to use this program, so to speak. So if you look at $900 a year for 20 years, that's over $22,000. So
Hmm.
how do you justify how your plan is going to help save somebody some money on the monetary side as opposed to the counseling side?
Well, that's a good question. The way it saves money on the number side, so to speak, or on the money side, is you got to remember the plan is delivering. Let's just say the average funeral cost is 10 grand. That money is paying for 70,000, you could say, of benefits because you got 7 people. If you're understanding what I'm saying, it's paying for those type of benefits. So even if you try to, I guess you could say, save up that type of money, it would take quite a bit of time to do that because you're only looking at roughly at 75 a month, a little over, what is that, 10, what was that, 7, almost $11 per person, $10 and something per person is basically what you're looking at. But here's what it's doing. In insurance, if something were to happen, let's just say suicide, you got to wait 2 years before most policies will pay anything on suicide, although you've been paying those premiums. Also, when a person passes with insurance, before you can get any type of benefits, you must produce a death certificate. Sometimes that can take weeks, months, so forth to get your death certificate. And then they're going to go through the investigations and all of that to see if they're going to pay the claim. So if you have a body that's there, needing to be handled, you can't really wait like that. Here, after 3 days, the person is actually covered for violent death, accidental death, and suicide after 3 days. And they're covered for every other type death after 6 months. And you say, well, why 6 months? And I said, you got to remember there's no medical. So they're basically saying, we're trusting you to tell the truth. So we're going to have this waiting period in here. Versus if you listen on the TV and you hear Jonathan talk about the 995 no medical, he specifically tells you it's going to be 2 years before you can receive any type of benefits because there's no medical.
I have a question here now. They're going on honesty. So I heard you haven't mentioned anything about an autopsy or anything like that. So if you did have a terminal brain injury and you didn't die until that 7th month, it sounds like this policy is going to pay. My curiosity is, how would you know what I died from if you didn't have an autopsy? There's
Oh,
no
well,
history.
here's what happens. We're basically going on the honor system of asking you, when we do the enrollment, at the time of enrollment, do you have this? Do you have that? And if you don't, it doesn't matter if you get it afterwards. If you didn't have it at the time of the
I,
enrollment,
I think it's my, yeah, we had it at the time of so probably not a whole lot of people here in America, but
right?
there's a great portion of them that cheat on their taxes. Okay, they don't tell the IRS everything on their tax return. You follow me? So, like most applications, just a few Americans, they don't tell everything that you may ask honestly on that application. So the person may knowingly go to dialysis 3 times a week. They know they have a history of that. They don't die in 6 months. They die in 7. So I guess that what I'm looking for is, there any way that the company will come back and say, well, wait a minute, you violated the terms of the membership, okay? Anything like that. I guess that's what I'm kind of asking. Is
Yes,
that
they could. That's exactly
okay?
right. They could and they would.
Okay.
Because if they could go and then actually check and find out that you did have that at the time of enrollment, but you did not disclose it, then that
Right.
would be a breach of contract. Yes, they
Okay, so
would.
they do have that. So that waiting period also gives them the opportunity to do that investigation, even though they don't ask for it. So that kind of that's strange, because you don't ask for a social security number. You are signing away permission for them to check into your medical history, your medical records, and things of that nature. And so that would give me some, okay, there's exposure, some intrusive investigation, preliminary investigation prior to that membership actually going into effect. Not a negative per se. It's just that when I look at that and I compare the 7 people, because you mentioned before that if the policy holder, not the policy holder, the membership holder dies, then that's going to, who becomes the membership holder at that point?
That's a great
Or
question.
does it cancels everything out? How does that
No,
work?
it doesn't.
Okay.
At the time, if the plan holder passes, a new plan holder can come into play. He can be either one of the 6 persons that's already in the plan, or she can be a totally new person coming into the plan. The
Mhm.
only difference is when the new person comes into the plan, they must still have that 3 day waiting period for the suicide and the 6 month. They got to go through the waiting periods. But if they don't
Okay.
have any of those ailments or so forth, there's no problem whatsoever. Also, I guess to address your previous question, they actually only check those things when there is a call for service. That's when they actually check to see if you told the truth and so forth. But they don't actually, when you sign up, check then. They're really trusting you to tell the truth. They'll check then, and if everything proves out right, you're in good shape. And I guess, and also to add, so many times when I say, 66 to 80, and they say, well, what happens after 80? Well, if you're already in the plan, you could live to be 120. It's still going to pay just as long as you are already in the plan. But you cannot get into the plan if you are 81. You can be years old in 364 days, but if you're 81, you cannot get into the plan.
Well, yeah, they're making the same bet almost that the insurance company is making. If you do it early, you know, they win. If you do it late, they're gonna win because to
Right.
Paul's point, if I got 7 people, and heck, all of them should have their own plan actually, because 7 times 900, that's $630, and you multiply that by 10 or 15, I mean 15 years, you're up there in the high $80,000,
Well,
and
no,
so
the 900 is for all seven of the people.
yeah, I understand. I
Okay.
understand.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, as far as from an investment perspective. But
Good. Good. Good.
Got a question for you, Melvin.
Sure.
I don't know if this is the last question or what, but anyway, um, I was looking at your bio and I was traversing your interesting journey, and one of the things that stuck out in my mind was how the the AC Williams, AJ Williams, and the insurance companies that you were involved in helped you with what you're dealing with right now.
Yes, it really did. Uh, I can remember back in the mid and early 80s when I worked with A.O. Williams, some of the things that I talked to families about were just, I would say, totally going over their heads. Had they not known, I guess you could say, my family and my parents and the kind of respect they had for them, because I was only in my, 20s, early 20s. They said, we really don't understand what you're talking about with these mutual funds and why we need to do this. But I know Mr. Cleveland and I know Miss Simon May. We just going to trust you and we're going to do it. We don't know what we're doing, but we're going to do that. And now, 30 some years later, I run into some of those people and I say, as a matter of fact, you all did it better than I did, and they'll say, man, we were certainly glad that you talked to us about that because we still don't quite understand it. We understand it better now, but we are so glad we did that, that we had that trust for you. So when I saw this product, because I've seen the GoFundMe's, where people are trying to scrape up money. I've been a part of the chicken and fish fries to raise money and the car washes and uh, in my family there are singers on both sides, so you have the gospel program where this quartet and this soloist get together and they try to scrape up money, and I just saw Assure being so much of a better way to take care of this, uh, and it was so affordable because it took care of so many people at once. That's what I really liked about it. And on top of that, um, you know, a plan holder could have more than one plan. And in the second and third plan, they not be, I guess you could say, a beneficiary. They're just a plan holder, like a grandmother who maybe wants to take care of some nieces and nephews and grandchildren, and she has more than six, but she want to make sure that they are taken care of because she knows if anything happens, I'm probably the only person in the family with a little money, so it's gonna fall on it's gonna fall on me. I had a young couple speak to me, and they were from North Carolina, and the young lady says, on both sides of my family, there were the chemical dependency issues. And she said, my husband and my family. She said, we are probably, me and my husband, about the only two straight people in the family. She said, we have already, me and my husband, to scuffle and pay for 4 funerals in the family. And we know we all got some folks like that in our families. She said, this is the best thing that ever happened for us because we got us 2 or 3 plans that little Ray Ray and Boo Boo and all of them that we knew were out there living that life. We put their behinds in the plan because I didn't have to know I didn't have to know anything but their name, their birth date, what city they lived in, and I could put them on the plan. And if something happened, that kept that load off of us. And I'd never looked at it from that manner, but because there's no medical, and because anything beside those 4 things is pretty much taken care of, that covered a lot of ground.
Man, that's some really good stuff, Melvin. I am so glad that we had you on the Crotchety Old Man podcast today, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are in that situation which you just described, and this kind of program can help them immensely. You know, it's a need. There's a need for that. You know, it's like anything else. It may not be for everybody, but there are some people out there that this will definitely fit their need. Um, Obviously, I want you to give some information as far as if someone wants to get in touch with you, wants to know more about Assure for Life. How would they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me at, I guess, the same number you have, which is 770-298-4443. 24 hours a day, because this is so important to me that anytime a person calls, I'm going to respond. Or they can email me at that ARM, which is arm, just like your body part, 0830-601 at Gmail. They can get me. If they have questions, feel free to call me. I'll answer any questions. If I need to talk to other family members or a spouse or a partner, I'm open to do that as well. I just want to make sure that people are protected. And there are so many other things about the plan I know that I could have mentioned, but we didn't have time to do that today. I just wanted to sort of give a 10,000-foot overview of what this plan is all about.
And we really appreciate that. Hey, another episode of the Crotchety Old Man. Smitty, PC, what kind of closing statements would you like to make?
Well, only thing I'm gonna say is this: for those who didn't know, now you
Now
know.
you know.
Okay, that's what we are here at the Crotchety Old Man. I'm gonna pass the mic over to PC, see if he have a word for us today. But I got him backed up if he doesn't. PC.
I've got a word, Gary. I'm gonna have to look at my word though now.
Ah,
I'm gonna have to pull it up. You got something handy?
oh yeah, I'm always got something handy. Here's the word of the Lord, Isaiah 54:1. Something that you've never done before. All things are possible to those who believe. All
Hello.
right.
There you
There it
go.
is.
Until next time, from the Crotchety Old Men. Peace.
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 This is Dr. Paul Clemens with the Crotchety Old Men podcast. If you're interested in financial tools to build wealth, and you're interested in ways to maximize your health through holistic alternatives, then you are just the audience that we're looking for. Tune in each week, every Thursday, to the Crotchety Old Men podcast, where George Crumley, Gary Smith, and I offer you in-depth discussions on health and wealth. Subscribe to the Crotchety Old Men podcast on Google, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.